September the 15th is the International Day for Democracy, and the theme for 2017 is Democracy and Conflict Prevention. It focuses on the critical need to strengthen democratic institutions in order to promote peace and stability. It's believed a more integrated approach to foster resilient society calls for effective and inclusive democratic governance with respect for human rights and the rule of law. We have joining us now the Chairman Committee for the Protection of People's Mandate, Nelson Ekujumi, to shed more light on this. Thank you for joining us in the studios. Now, first off, it seems the theme of the year is more apt to the Nigerian situation and the need to maintain peace.
Well, that is very, very correct, because democracy, like we all know, connotes responsibility and accountability, and also civility. So one expects that if people are to buy into the ethos of democratic tenets, they must recognize the fact that, look, in human conduct, in human engagements, there are bound to be conflicts of interest. But in as much as we recognize this conflict of interest, that it is inevitable in human engagement, it is also important for us to realize that there are civilized ways for resolving these conflicts. There are civilized ways for resolving these disagreements. Disagreements should not dovetail into the brutish nature of man, like the anarchical state of nature. So it is important for us at every point in time to admonish our people that, look, there is no, even between a husband and a wife, just between a couple, there will be conflicts, not to talk of when it's a society made up of different varying interests. But at all times, we must admonish all the stakeholders that, look, they must be civilized. They must recognize that, there are procedures for resolving this conflict, and that is what makes for an orderly society.
Really, and looking at the right of the people, like you said, the tenets of democracy, and of course, there is bound to be conflict, but then the process of conflict resolution is very important, and it seems that that should be the form of discussion right now, for example, in Nigeria. So what would you tell the government, first off, how to approach this matter, the sensitive matter right now, threatening the unity of the country?
There's no two ways to approach the matter than for the government to continuously engage the citizenry. The government must at all times communicate to the people. And, the main thrust of our crisis today is because of, over the years, we've had failures of, governance. And, these failures didn't just start today. It is an accumulated, crisis or accumulated debts. But today, a lot of people are trying to, lash onto it for political capital. And that is why we are calling on both those who are aggrieved, who still have the aggrieved, who are still politically aggrieved, that, look, if you are not satisfied with the system, it does not mean you should rock the boat. If you are dissatisfied with the present status quo, there are procedures for addressing your grievances, because to be angry or to be dissatisfied is human nature. There's nothing we can do about it. But at all times, we must recognize the fact that, look, there are procedures for resolving this conflict, and also call on those at the helm of our affairs that they must always communicate with the people, even when people are, misreading their intentions. Continue to shun out those information, continue to engage with the people. Those who are aggrieved, continue to talk to them, and not, believe that, they are talking for the fun of it. Because whether we like it or not, in a democracy, the majority will have their way, but the minority must have their say. We can't deny them that.
Yes, and then looking at this present situation in Nigeria right now, one would wonder why the people and the government are being told to keep the peace, knowing that the country went through military regime not once, meaning that it's tasted the other side of democracy. So now, how important is it for the government and the people now, both parties involved and the general population of the country, to understand that the worst of times during democracy is way better than the best of times during war?
There's no two ways about it, other than by discussion, by debates, by negotiations. So at every point in time, we must not stop talking, because even the Bible tells us that the world was started with word. Let me use the Yoruba interpretation, oro, lafidaye. So people must not keep mute. At every point in time, people must continuously engage. Even when people are aggrieved, like I said earlier, you must continue to talk to them, make them see reason. But if they have chosen not to see reason, then you also tell them that, look, if you are dissatisfied, these are methods that you can use to ventilate your anger. But you should not, because of your own personal anger, try to truncate the peace and tranquility of the generality of the people. The government owes that responsibility to maintain peace and stability in any part of the country.
But then what happens really when an aggrieved group sees or believes that there is no genuine process put in place for it to be able to channel its grievances by the authority? What then?
Well, if the aggrieved parties believe that there are no genuine ways or the government is not sincere in addressing its grievances, we're in a democracy and every government in power has a tenure. One will expect that such a group, rather than taking the laws into its hand, rather than violating the rights of others, because no right is absolute, one will expect that such a group should endeavor to sell that ideas of theirs that the government is not buying into to the generality of the people, so that at the appropriate time, when the time for elections come, or even that group can even float a political party and let the people tell the people that, look, this is what we are fighting for on your general behalf, such that the people will buy into it, so that they will know that no matter the level of your grievances, you cannot take the law into your hands in any democracy, because democracy is built on rules and the rule of law and peace, orderliness of any society. And
how important is it really for people to understand that it is way better to prevent conflict, which is part of the theme of the year, than to solve it?
Well, I've just said it. I don't know of any other way as an individual, because violence does no society any good, and everybody is vulnerable. We don't know what will be the consequences. And you also know very well that the consequences or the psychological trauma of violence lingers than any human being can rightly predict or expect. So at all times we must continue to preach peace to our people, and the government also owes that responsibility to continue to admonish the people, to tell them that, look, we cannot solve all your problems.
All right, and indeed, the ghost of the 1994 genocide still haunts the people of Biafra. Thank you for coming to the studios. Nelson Ekujumi, the chairman of the Committee for the Protection of People's Mandate. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much.
And with that, we wrap it up on TVC News this hour. Thank you for watching. Well, you can get updates on our website. It's tvcnews.tv. You can follow us on all our social media platforms as well. Use the handle at TVC News NG. I am Aziza Dalalwa. Thank you for watching, and bye for now.